I'm going to go ahead and get started talking about, this is kind of the last webinar of our May webinar series. I have a couple more that I am probably going to push out in the form of training, just like this, topics and questions that came back to me that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into. So be on the lookout for that. Today, we're talking about tools and reports as they pertain to ShoWorks Auction. We're going to be diving directly into the admin site, talk about the tools that are available, talk about when to use them, when they're useful, and then we'll take all of this and chop it up, add it to the knowledge base. We'll also be sure to send this recording out to anyone who registered and make it available on our knowledge base. Our knowledge base being the place that we put all of our information as it pertains to ShoWorks Auction. And we have an article there called Webinars. Y'all can watch the chat as well. Kimberly and Kylie are helping to conduct today's webinar. They're doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. I'll ask Kylie to find that webinar link to throw it into the chat so that y'all can see where we house all of the webinar recordings. Today, we're going to dive in talking about tools and reports. There's a couple of things I'm going to touch on. One of them being some of the new self-service items that we have introduced for the 2022 season. Also talking a little bit about Auction Monitor with the ShoWorks agent. If you participated or listened or watched to the previous webinars, you got a taste of what you can do for self-service add-ons only, how to make that happen. This 2 weeks ago, we talked specifically about data and how it moves back and forth between ShoWorks and the ShoWorks auction. That also has a lot of meat in it as it pertains to all auctions. And it's a great way to educate yourself about what powerful ways you can utilize what's happening in ShoWorks 2020 and interact it with the auction and vice versa. So let me go ahead and jump right in and hello to all of you joining us. So right now you're going to see the QR code. This takes you directly to our demo site. What you can do there is you can register as a buyer, enter an auction, submit an add-on, you can bid, review your cart, basically get the buyer experience if you haven't gotten that before. Feel free to jump in there. You'll see yourself popping up throughout the demo if you do. I'm going to talk next about prerequisites. The prerequisites for ShoWorks Auction are the same as it would be to run ShoWorks 2020. You would need a computer that is running at least Microsoft Office 2013. If you're not running at least 2013, look into getting that upgraded prior to your show. ShoWorks 2020 version 20.4.0 is the version that was introduced in January of 2021. At the time that was introduced, what it produced was the provision button that sits on the cloud tab of ShoWorks. So if you try to utilize auction, ShoWorks Auction, and you're not finding that provision button, just check that you have the right version and make sure you've upgraded. In order to utilize ShoWorks Auction and have lots appear on the auction site, all of those entries did have to originate in online entries. So you do need to open up an online session. You can find that under popular links on fairsoftware.com. If you want photos and images and or videos, then you need to enable Fair Vault, allowing for that ShoWorks Plus. The very first thing that is fairly new to anyone who might be joining is within your ShoWorks setup, going to that main menu, setup, online tab, there is the reply email address that you enter. And typically this is the section that is showing to everyone when they're going to your FairWire site. But that reply email address is what is triggering, that's the email address that support@showworkscloud.com is going to be utilizing in order to send you important communications about your setup before, during, and after your sale. So make sure that that email address is populated. Also, go into your email, whatever you use, your Gmail or your Outlook, and add support@showworkscloud.com as a contact. That way we are recognized as a safe sender so that you can receive all of those updates. So that is point number one, new. Wanted to make sure that you got that. As you go through the provisioning process, setting up your data, creating your sale order, and then producing your sales invoices when you click Create Sale within ShoWorks, you're going to then click the Provision Auction button. You may click this Provision Auction button a multitude of times. When you do that, the very first time, it is going to trigger the system to go ahead and set up your environment on the auction site, and you're going to email you're going to receive an email from support@showworkscloud.com, and it's going to say welcome. It's going to ask you to confirm your account, and you can access your admin site at that point in time. It's going to give you your initial password, and then it's going to tell you to reset that password immediately so that it is safe. And then if you're having any issues, definitely contact support. So this email, it comes with the subject of verify your email. It is going to hit your inbox, the very first provision, and this is what gains you access to your admin site. I'm going to go ahead and jump in to that admin site, and that's where I'm going to continue talking from. Anyone who is logging in is going to get access to admin.showworks.cloud. If you are managing your fair, you're only going to have, where I have a ton of different fairs that show up, you will see just one. Today, I'm going to hop into my demo fair. Some of you might see your fair as I'm passing and past fairs because as an administrator, I have access to see all of them. This also is an indicator if you are an individual that works multiple fairs, we have the ability to give you access to multiple fairs. You just need to contact support and we'll get that to you. This is the admin site. When it pops up, this is exactly what it looks like. You have sections down the left-hand side. If you have multiple fairs, you're going to see those fairs listed here. If you have one, it shows just your fair. You're going to have a fair setup section, a buyer data section, auction setup, auction, and tools. I'm actually going to do a little bit backwards. I'm going to start with tools and work my way up. I'm going to hopefully see how that works with the content today after I've delved a little bit into the fair setup. So I'm going to start at the top and then come work my way up from the bottom, especially being that our topic is tools and reports. So in this case, also please note that I have multiple auctions set up on my site that are active. Let me jump over to the actual site so that you can see what it looks like. But in my demo site, I have multiple auctions set up that are running concurrently and that are active. So what you're going to be seeing is you can see it, what's happening on the actual auction site as I'm running it in the back. Some of the most important tools that you have at your disposal is the initial setup. I usually tell people to start at the top and work their way down. At the very beginning, you have the ability to activate your auction or auctions. I have multiple auctions here that are active. Most of you might have just one auction, and you would just have one line item. Regardless, at the higher level of whether you have one or multiple, you have this little toolbar, tool button of fair options that you can click. One thing that is common, anytime there is a field to be populated, you can see some tidbits of where this can be edited or what is driving it. So hopefully this helps you and you don't have to remember every single detail that we are walking through. But this is where you configure your fair options, and you can update the fair name, any registration notes, and terms and conditions. Just to give you an idea of where that stuff appears, registration notes appear on the registration page right here. And then in the case that someone is going to actually log in, you can write your own terms and conditions that individuals have to tick before they can enter your site. So that's done at the fair level, regardless of how many auctions you might have. Diving into, I'm going to dive into the add-on only auction for just for demonstration purposes. But this is where you can activate, turn on, or turn off your auctions. If it's active, that's obviously ticked. If not, it's not. You can turn on whether or not you want to allow online bidding button to appear or to allow the online add-on button to appear. So there's now an indicator for that. And then you have some timings based on, you have the name of your actual auction that will appear on the site. Then you have your open times and your close times for your auction. This allows the system to know when you're expecting to accept bids and when you're not, or when you're allowing to accept add-ons or not. Another new introduction this year is whether or not you're going to allow flooring. This indicates whether or not the spotter or the buyer can designate a lot that they are purchasing as being able to be as being floored or not floored. So if you're utilizing the flooring capabilities within ShoWorks and you're going to be using that, what that allows for is the designation of a lot to be floored or not upon being won. And ShoWorks does all of the calculations and final billing for that, but it sends over that indicator so you're not having to designate flooring in multiple locations. We have a live feed section. In the case that you are hosting a live auction, you have the option to embed the Zoom feed onto the auction site and also embed it into AuctionCast. The live feed links and live feed IDs get entered here, and then you can indicate whether or not you want that embedded video feed in AuctionCast or not. Right now at this time, if you do want to embed your video feed into AuctionCast, we ask that you coordinate with our support staff because we have a specific Zoom feed that you can leverage during that time. Skipping down, auction notes are just notes that appear on every single lot if you wanted to make sure a message appeared to all of your buyers on each lot. You set up your add-on minimums and increments. I'm actually skipping this bid extension section, not because it's not important, but if you're doing virtual auctions, this is what comes into play. It's used sometimes, but it's not the most critical items for most of our fairs. You can indicate whether or not you want to send winners notifications via text or not. Whenever an item is marked sold, they'll receive a winner's notification with a link to go back in to the site and either pay or just view what they have just won. And then you also have the ability to display add-on totals and or display add-on contributors. Just going to hop into the auction site here and show you where that comes into play on the add-on site. In this case, it was indicated that both would be enabled. You have the option of whether or not you want to show the total add-ons that have already been accumulated for that exhibitor or that lot. And then you have the option of whether or not you want to show the contributors that have contributed to that lot. We make it an option because each community is a little bit different. The next tool that is very important is the provision history. When you provision every single time, you are going to receive an email letting you know if there are any warnings or errors. That email is going to produce warnings that are the same as what appears here in your warning history. You can see whether or not there are specific warnings that you might need to address. We recommend anything having to do with a buyer be addressed as soon as possible if you receive any issues there. The data webinar that I went into a couple of weeks ago goes into a lot more detail about the specific errors that you'll receive. And our knowledge base has a ton of resolutions for each of those, not to mention that when you receive that email, if there are any warnings or errors, you're going to have a section underneath the warning that tells you exactly how to fix it. Images and videos. To clarify, there are two different systems that feed into ShoWorks Auction, one being ShoWorks 2020. If there's data that is sitting in your sale on your entries associated with your divisions, that data comes over from ShoWorks 2020 during that provision process. Separately is any images and videos. Images are loaded via FairVault from an exhibitor standpoint. If they're the ones loading, they're logging into their online entries and able to load those images in the case that the fair yourselves have enabled that option for them. Fairs can also go in and do load those images themselves through the FairVault administration windows. Once those images are loaded, or even if you have one image loaded and you want to see it on the site, you can click reload all. It is using the unique win ID that is generated at the time that an entry is entered into online entries to link that entry on our site, that lot on our site, with the image and video that was logged and added into FairVault. So if you have any questions on images and videos, Spencer at fairvault.com is the individual that you would contact to assist you with that. Getting more into some of the destination or some more of the tools, destinations is kind of a neat one. We have the ability to turn on and off destinations utilizing this destinations portion. When I'm going to flip down also because it's interchangeably utilized with the auction lot destinations here. In the case that you are sending animals to processors, one of the things that was requested was, we have a processor that can only take so many animals. Well, when you are closing lots, you have the ability to designate where those lots are going as soon as you're able to, in a live situation, update that in the spotter tool. And then you also have buyers, if they're bidding online, they have to select that final destination. So you can kind of keep up and look and see by going into this lot destinations window, how many animals are going to, in this case, West Side Lockers. It's going to show me filtered 2 out of 7. If I was more concerned about a specific division, I can start filtering, on that division and say, oh, I've only got 1 goat going right now. I know they have room for 10. So I have room to still get there. Allow that West Side Lockers to be selected for my goats. In the case that you do look like you're about to limit out, or for some reason you need to close it down, you have the ability to turn off West Side Locker or whatever destination you need to and close it. It is still going to appear in the drop-down list because it is assumed that at some point it might have been selected already. So it appears, but it appears with a closed, and nobody is allowed to select that destination anymore. So when you're dealing with with actually moving livestock and needing some tools to help manage what's going where, what can be selected, and the destination menu as well as the lot destinations work hand in hand. Most of you, as you know, this list got populated because these destinations were set up in ShoWorks 2020 as buyers, with the destination only checkbox ticked. That is how they get there in the first place. I'm going to keep rolling. I'm actually going to move past payments for right now. We'll talk about payments at the end. But I'm going to jump into buyers. One of the tools that is given to administrators is the ability to utilize this buyer list. This buyer list is originally populated at the time of provisioning or any subsequent time after provisioning when the provision button is selected, utilizing the buyer list that may or may not exist based on your preference in ShoWorks 2020. So I will see all of the buyers that are input here. This list also gets populated every time someone were to register into this site. If any of you might have already registered, I can usually see, oh, I just had a new one, Richard Moore. During this time, it was populated here in my site. What's happening is this becomes your main buyer source record for all buyers, because you have people logging in and creating a buyer online. You're going to want to do your buyer registration if you have that capability and to be connected to the internet at your live site. You're going to want to utilize this for updating and or adding buyers. So let's say I'm at my live sale and I'm manning buyer registration, and someone, let's say Coulter, I see Coulter Johnson walks up to the table and he wants to verify, he wants to get his buyer number. His buyer number is right here, number 996. I want to validate that I have his proper mobile number. If I don't, I can update it as an administrator, and then I can click save. I can save with any other information that might need to be updated. I can update that. If, for instance, someone is looking for their SMS, their security code that they may or may not have lost when it was when they registered as a buyer on the online site, they may be asking for their security code. Maybe they put in the wrong phone number, so they never received a text, or their phone number is actually a landline and they didn't receive that text. As an administrator, you can look right here and see their security code and give that to them. The other main tool is somebody walks up to the table, they're not there yet. They're not in the system, they may be in a rush and they don't want to register themselves as a buyer, you can click the add button and go ahead and instruct your buyer registration administrators to input all of the information that is on this form and click save. It's automatically going to assign them the next buyer number available. Once they are saved in the system, they can also be updated. As a tidbit, just for fair administrators, you do not have to fill out every single field from this window. If the buyer were registering themselves from the online site, they do have to fill out every field. If you have volunteers working, you want to instruct them to fill out every field, because once these buyers are registered here and they're updated here with the auction monitor in place that I'm going to show you in a little bit, your buyer list gets real-time updated. You can see that Richard Moore, thank you for whoever signed up as Richard Moore. Richard Moore automatically appears here. And as you know, utilizing ShoWorks, this information is critical to all of your billing, sending exhibitors their thank you note list. So making sure all that information is updated is very critical. I am going to skip down and jump into auction entries and lots. This specific module is designated for all of the information that comes across from ShoWorks as it pertains to the lots that are going to be displayed on the auction site. Right up above, if you are manning a multiple auctions, you'll have a drop down so that you can designate exactly which lots you're looking at within that specific auction. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the competitive auction right now, but it definitely narrows it down to the lots that are designated for that auction. In the case that you are going to be accepting any bidding on your lots, this excludes any just doing add-ons only. But in the case you're going to do any biddings, there are two buttons that are extremely important and valuable to you. One is once those lots have been provisioned over the first time, you're going to go ahead and set your schedule for them. When you tick that set schedule button, it's going to set a timing schedule of when the bid start time should start and when that bid end time should end for those lots. That bid end time actually does affect the order that the lots appear online. It affects the order that the lots will appear in AuctionCast. It really does actually matter. If you're doing a live hybrid sale, you're going to set that bid end time to be a time that is maybe an hour after the close that you expect that auction to end. Because as you close them, then your bid end time will get updated to the time you actually closed that lot. But if you're doing a virtual auction, then you're actually going to set that bid end time based on the times you want those those lots to roll off and not be available for bidding anymore. So you'll want to set the schedule if you're doing any bidding. Definitely affects the appearance of that bid button and the behavior on the sites. The next item button that you will see is the Set Bid Increment button. The Set Bid Increment button, this is a great example way to show it, is let's say I'm going to do my barrows. I can filter down on my barrows and I can say, I actually want all my bid increments for my barrows to be $50 each. And I'm going to save that. And all of my barrows just got updated to $50. Another case, I'm going to do something that has a few more. Let's do my rabbits. Nope, I just have one rabbit. Let's look at my roasters. I have more than one roaster. So I can go in and set the bid increment for my roasters. I can say I actually want it to be, $30 of my bidding increments. And when I go back and I look at my roasters, I can see that all of my roasters were updated to $30. That set bid increment button is going to apply to everything that you have filtered on, same as the set schedule button. Whenever you provision, it is key to come in and make sure that you have all of your bid increments set, make sure the schedule is set. I do some quick QAing. I every time there's a provision to an auction that I'm assisting with, I come in, I do some sorting on my lots, and just so I can see, okay, lot number 1 through 12, I knew I had 12. We're up there. That's good. I'll sort on minimum bid price. Usually you can see some outliers. I look at where, we had $1. Does $1 make sense in this case? Yes, because these are my steers and the bid type is by the pound. Yep, that's right. That's right. Then I look down at my minimum bids, $50 for my roasters and my broilers. That's what I expected. And then I went up to 100. I've got 500 for this goat. Something looks a little fishy here. My minimum bid price for Colleen Fisher may need to get updated. In that case, I would go back to that sales invoice back in ShoWorks, and I would re-provision this. So that minimum bid price, I'll follow this example all the way through. It is lot number 3, which is my sales invoice number 3. Let me go hop into my sale. And I'm going to go to lot number 3, and I can see that minimum bid price. I did set it for 500, probably unintentionally, since all my other goats are 100. I'm going to edit this record. I'm going to update it to 100. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go through cloud and provision auction again and go through that provisioning process. And that's going to update that minimum bid. So as you're QAing, you're going to find things that you want to get updated. You just go back, change it, click that provision auction button again. But that's how I utilize this tool. I will also, go up and down, sort on my by the pound, by the head. If I have an entire by the head sale, then I'm going to want to make sure everything was by the head. If I see some by the pounds pop in, I need to go back and fix that division and send that back over. Special placings, sale weights. Am I missing some sale weights? You can usually see the outliers a lot of times by sorting. That's how I do it. So just so you know, that's how I use the auction entries, lots and the tools that are here, but also utilize the actual sheet during the setup of my auction. I am going to show the reports that get generated. That way you understand how they're used. Probably if you are doing a sale that has any type of bidding associated with it, then this winners tab is probably the most important that you're going to look at the entire time. In this, as lots are closing, you will see those lots appear with the winners here. In the case of lot number 1, I can see that the entire amount that this lot was sold for was $600. Because there are 3 winners, that means that it was actually split. And I can see that the buyer name, Triple R Ranch, was in for $200. Jody White was in for $200. Max Owens was in for $200. I can see information associated with the exhibitor, the destination that this lot is intended to go to. I see that it was a split bid. That's quite obvious with the true here. This was deemed to be floored. So that indicator was selected. There's been add-ons made to it, special placing and some other information there. In the case of lot number 2, you can see that it was not a split bid. However, it was floored. This is all of the information that is flowing back over into ShoWorks. So whenever a transaction gets updated or generated or updated, then it's going to populate here. This is kind of the Bible of sorts of what the auction site is showing and what it's pulling from. In order to be able to see that. So I utilize that tool there. Another thing to mention is that you can export your winners for the entire fair out into Excel, or you can export winners for just this auction. If you're running just one auction, those two reports are going to be exactly the same. If you are running multi-auction, then you can export just the auction or just the fair. Also, a tool that is heavily utilized is as your bids close, or as your auction lots close, then you can see the total bids right here for 5,300. You can also see the total add-ons that have been placed thus far, and you can see your grand total. We utilize this when trying to deem the amount of transactions that were pushed through the auction site. This is only transactions that have been pushed through the auction site. We utilize this in terms of when we go to do billing, and also to get some grand totals for you, that you can see that for yourself there. In the same spirit, I'm going to flip over to the add-ons. This is the add-on transactions that get generated. The thing that is a little bit different, actually, I forgot to mention this in the last one, but I'll go back and show you this. But on the add-ons, you can see who has added on, to whom, what the buyer number was, what the amount was. Ungerbach contributed $70,000. Thank you so much. Audrey Brighton is thrilled. And let's say Ungerbach were to call back and they said, hey, I fat fingered that. It was supposed to be 7,000, not 70,000. That's what these red X's are for on the side. You cannot update an add-on, but you can delete it and then go back in and add it on. So let's use that as an example. I'm going to show you one of the next tools. Let's say, in this case, buyer number 54 was contributing to lot number 4, and they messed up. They fat fingered that. They did make this online, but they've called you and said, I messed up. You can cancel that out, deleting it by using that red X. You can ask them to go back in and submit that, or you can come down into this tools on the add-on tool and you can say, you know what, for lot number 4, buyer number 54, Ungerbach, they actually intended to do $7,000, which is still hefty. We'll appreciate them for that. So that got added. I jumped back over into the add-ons and I can see where that add-on was added back. So if you're doing add-ons only or doing add-ons at all, this add-ons allows you to, this add-ons window allows you to dive into what might actually be happening if you have any questions arising. And then this add-on tool allows you to go in and add additional add-ons from the admin point of view as needed. This add-on tool is also helpful if somebody walks up to you at a sale and says, here's a check for $1,000, go ahead and place it across all of the exhibitors. Then if they want their name and that amount appearing on the online site, that's when you would go ahead and enter the lot numbers, the buyer numbers, and the amount here so that it will appear online. They'll get the notoriety for it, and then they'll actually that data will feed over directly into ShoWorks at the time that that's placed. I'll go look. We just did lot 4. Let me go look at that. Lot 4, you can see, oh, there it is, the $7,000 from Ungerbach that I just placed. It did have the 70,000 on there, but you can see how it was removed. So on the add-on front, updating, deleting, adding any add-ons on the online site, it's going to feed directly over, which is helping to keep any final clerking or billing very smooth on a real-time basis. So I already talked to you a little bit about lot destinations. I don't have anything else to say about lost destinations. It's there. I do have, I'll jump into the competitive bids window. In the case that you are doing any competitive bidding, this is where every single bid is going to appear. You can export these bids for the fair or auction into Excel if you want to mark up a sheet and have notes added to it if you're diving into something in particular. But this is where you can see what happened, who bid what, when, where, why, how. In the case, I'm going to scroll all the way down. I hope that you can see it, but maybe I can filter on it and it'll hold tight. In this case, you can see where max bids were placed. You can see where it was an auto bid in that case or not. That means a buyer was utilizing the auto bid, max bid functionality. You can tell where this, whether or not this bid originated from online or whether or not it originated from the spotter tool, an administrator putting it in. That is a new featured field for auctions. For some auctions, y'all want to see how many bids were made online versus not. A lot of the auctions understand that most of the time, in a hybrid situation, the majority of your bids might not come in from online. It is actually a small percentage, but in the case that a few of them do come in, they are helping to raise the awareness and you're able to see what's happening online in an auction cast and have that advertising going out for a long while after the auction. So in the case that you had someone call in or maybe somebody entered the wrong bid, fat fingered a bid, this is where, once again, similar to the add-ons, you can delete a bid, but you cannot modify a bid. So if someone had fat fingered, this $900, and they've notified the administrators, then you can go in and actually delete that bid, bringing the next highest bid up to the top. Dependent upon whether or not that lot has already been marked sold, it takes on different behavior. But in the case that you're trying to see who's bid what, why we've reached a certain bid, this is your diagnostic tool for all of those things. Similarly, in the case of a consortium sale, then this consortium bids exists. If you're running a consortium sale, then you are going to be utilizing this consortium bids window. If you're not, you'll never use it. This last item is probably actually about to be retired, but it is real time what is happening on the auction site. Announcements from most recent down. So there's been a ton of things happening. We just had an add-on for $7,000 from Ungerbach. We just had an add-on from Max Owens for $50. We had lot closed at $800, but it's really just a running list of announcements. And honestly, it's not used as much as it was in the very beginning when we started a couple of years ago. Jumping down to the tools, I am going to show AuctionCast first. AuctionCast, when you access it in the module, you automatically have access to AuctionCast. When you click on the AuctionCast URL, it is going to pop up the link that you can display to your audiences. It's intended for a live audience. It could also be displayed or embedded into your website or onto your Facebook page. And the intention is that it will move across the lots as your AuctionCast owner is progressing through the lots. I am going to jump over here and progress to lot number 10, show it, and you'll see that this progressed to number 10. So AuctionCast is just that really cool look and feel feature that allows for you to display each lot that is on the block. It shows the highest bid at that time. Once you have moved past this lot, the previous lots appear here with their winning price, the actual buyers that have purchased. If it's more than one buyer, then it's going to pan through those buyers to give them all the highlight. It shows the lots that are on deck. It shows sponsors, that division sponsors that have been set up, that is on the bottom left. It'll show any announcements real time. If I wanted to, add, thank you for attending today, push that announcement straight out, then it's going to show up immediately on whatever screens I am mirroring this or connected to this URL. Where you see the Trident sample fair, that is your fair's logo or your Zoom feed. Let's say that you wanted to hook this up by the concession stands or in a second barn where everyone's getting ready. You could have that Zoom feed, or even in the office so people could keep up. Then you could have that Zoom feed playing and everyone can keep up with what's going on. One other view that is available is the AuctionCast Lite, lot only view. If you're doing add-ons, you obviously won't be clerking your buyers directly into the system here, but you can show just the light view that only shows the lots that are up for bid with no buyer activity. So still a great look and feel, professional look, takes all that hard work of gathering those images and gives you a place to display them at your live event. If for some reason, we don't run into this often, but let's say for some reason you advanced to the next lot and it did not update, then you would use this force update that would force the AuctionCast to just reset, and then you would proceed accordingly. So that is AuctionCast. Just so you know, in the spotter tool, which I'm about to go into, in the spotter tool, there is a little AuctionCast advancing window here as well, just in case you have the same person working the spotter tool, working AuctionCast. So that was just requested because not everyone could be flipping screens or have enough volunteers to run both. I'm going to show the spotter tool next. It's the next tool that is easiest to flow into. Why would you utilize the spotter tool? The spotter tool is the main brains behind any hybrid auction. You utilize it in order to increase the bids against any online bidders. You also utilize it to deem a lot sold. Typically, you'd have an auctioneer in place, and once that auctioneer deems a lot sold, this is where a clerk would mark the lot sold and update the buyer information, splits, destination, etc. The spotter tool itself can be utilized by more than one individual at the same time. This means that if you have a really long, big auction, or even a small auction, you could have one person focused on keeping track with the auctioneer, making sure that you're highlighting and clerking the specific lot that is on the block at the moment. And then you could have a second or a third person be those individuals that are going to update the splits and or update the destinations and whether or not a lot got floored. Every auction is different. Not everyone has all of that information immediately at the time that you close a lot. Some of you have runners that will go out into the audience and get a signature from the buyer. Keep that same process and come back. What is actually happening in that case is what is actually happening is that you're coming back and getting the opportunity to update those winning bids. In the case that you don't have a hybrid auction, that you are just needing to do some maintenance on some of the competitive bids that are out there, that's okay. You can utilize this to close lots, submit a bid on behalf of someone that might not be present. You can't do a max bid for them, but you can also submit a bid on their behalf. But that's what this is utilized for. So in practice, this very first field is the lot number itself. This is the actual buyer number. In the case that you are accepting bids from the auction floor, you would set up, and you're wanting to track all of those bids in the system. You are going to set up a buyer that is called floor bidder. Whatever that floor bidder buyer's number is, it's going to default here in this window. If you do not want to track all of the bids from the floor, you don't have to. The warning against that is if someone has bid a max bid online, you need to be diligently making sure that their bids are recognized anytime it goes up. And so that's more of a manual process. If you are bidding against someone online, then you would want the floor bidder and be entering those clerking those bids so that you could see the competitiveness come out and those bids getting raised up. So in the case that we approach lot 9, we're sitting here, it's lot 9. Auctioneer is going to start bidding. You'd actually have someone use this tool. They may not even be entering anything into the tool, but they could be the online spotter who's watching this, and your auctioneer says, we're going to open up $50 for this bird, and you'd have someone like designated to be looking at this and say, we've already got $50 online. And that is indicated here by the green, by the fact that it says online bid. And I can tell who it is because that high bidder is listed and that $50 is here. In the case that, all right, the auctioneer is going forward and he says, fantastic. And do I hear 75? Do I hear 75? I've got 75 on the floor. Your clerk on the block is going to enter 75 and hit enter. This is going to show up as floor bid, and you're going to know that $75 is sitting to a floor bidder on the floor. That is going to continue to go back and forth. If you have notifications enabled, then the individual that just bid online, Jody White, she just got a notification saying she's been outbid. So she can immediately dive right back in and bid again. Or if she had put in an auto bid, then this would have actually turned orange and it would have said auto bid. That way it alerts everyone who is looking at the screen that, wait a second, something just came in online that was faster than what we thought it should be, because an auto bid happens immediately when someone bids, tries to outbid them. So you're going forward and your auctioneer says, I've got $100 from the floor, going once, going twice, sold. At that time, he's going to mark this, the clerk is going to mark this item sold. Any point you could reopen it. That's up to you. If you needed to do some cleanup down the way, or if it needed to be reopened immediately, you could do that. But your auctioneer is going to say, you know, we want to thank, you know, buyer number 22, Janie Jackson. Your clerk is going to enter the buyer number and then click replace buyer. Everywhere on AuctionCast, on the online site, that it now shows that Janie Jackson was the winner of lot number 9, paying $100. Let's say you have a runner go out and comes back with the information that they're actually splitting it, or maybe it happened real time. That's at that point, you would mark this as a split bid. She's going to split it. Let's say she's going to split it 4 ways. I'm going to do that for demonstrating the complexity of it or simplicity of it. She's going to do it 4 ways. She's actually splitting it with Beth Dutton, who's paying $25. And she wants to add 1 more. Max Owens is paying $25. And then we're going to click the plus sign to add 1 more split. They're really dividing this bird up amazingly well. Once you get to that last one, you can click remainder and then click save. If you needed to, if there was a mistake, you know, oh, they only wanted to do 3 of them and Max Owens was going to pick up the remainder, then you can click that remainder button and click save. Now at this point, everywhere it's going to be indicated that this was a split bid. Every transaction, winning transaction associated with this lot number 9 is going to be demonstrated. Those are transactions that are going to come across. And then you're also going to have the opportunity here of whether or not you want to floor this bid, yes or no. Then also, you know, what destination is going to be selected. So if they wanted this animal to go to a different location, this could be selected. You also have the ability to edit the destination notes. That summarizes the spotter tool in its entirety. Reality is that you might have 1 person manning the spotter tool, at least 2 people looking at it, and potentially 3 or 4 people utilizing it. This is not intended to be complex. It is intended to take those roles that already existed in a live auction and just provide the method of how you're going to track those destinations, how you're going to record those splits, how you're going to record that winner. It's just moving the clerking from what you might have done in ShoWorks or on hand by hand previously and putting it here on the online site. You're utilizing the admin site, so you're utilizing a URL to access this. So anybody who's logged in on their own computer through their URL can access this. So that is one of the pluses. You do have to have internet in order for this to work. You have to have good internet if you want it to appear quickly. So that is important to make note of, that this tool is not for every single fair out there, but a lot of people are utilizing it because of the benefits that it gives you having the recording done in the cloud. And they're set up for that. Let me take this example on just one step further. We just had buyer number 22 purchase this, even though they just split this bird 3 ways. At the time of checkout, if you are utilizing immediate buyer payments or even not utilizing immediate buyer payments, you're going to go to the buyer totals tool. The buyer totals tool, if you are sitting at the cashier location, you can enter that buyer number of that individual that just walks up to you, and you can say, let me get your total. Here you're going to see the total. You're going to see that this individual owes $25 for the purchase of this lot number 9. And then you're going to have the total amount due. You can hit print at that time, and then you can choose your printer. They could hand you cash at that point. You staple it to it, you put it in your box, and then you can print a second copy that you hand over to them. This is intended to work for any transactions that are input and recorded in the auction site. If you have transactions that are recorded in ShoWorks 2020, they will not appear here. So if you have a ton of transactions that you're doing in ShoWorks 2020, this may not be the right option for you, because you may want to make sure that all of these transactions get sent over to ShoWorks and you'd handle all of your billing there. The buyer totals also looks exactly like what it would look like if an individual were to sign in and log in. Let me pick someone I know. They go ahead and sign into the buyer site and they click on their cart. They can see exactly what they have purchased and any add-ons they have placed and their total amount due. Excuse me. This is exactly what they are going to see in the case that you pulled them up here. It's just the same thing. You're able to access it for every single buyer, where each individual buyer can only access it through logging in. So it's the exact same thing. In the case that you have enabled immediate buyer payments, then you would actually direct them to log into the site themselves, and they could go ahead and make that payment utilizing immediate buyer payments. In the case that they're paying by cash or check, this is a fantastic way to see them out. One major enhancement that has been made this year is our new auction monitor tool. Everyone that has a fair in 2022 from this point forward is going to be able to take advantage of Auction Monitor. Auction Monitor is just one piece of the new ShoWorks agent that is being introduced, that allows for things that are happening on the cloud to update ShoWorks 2020 real time. It is cutting edge technology that we're all excited to bring to you. We know how important it is to have real time data available to you when you are running your auctions. It is fast paced. You're handling buyer registration up front. You're handling checkout at the end, and everything can only go as smoothly as having that data readily available. The input of that data is directed by you and how you decide to set up, how you're managing your buyer registration, how you decide to do your payments. But I'm going to go ahead and flip over to show you what it looks like when Auction Monitor is registered on. Before I jump over to it, you have at the very bottom of the tools, you have Auction Monitor. Installing Auction Monitor, you would follow these steps here. We have a link for the knowledge base article on how to do that. I'm going to show you a little bit of some slides just to move quickly through it to show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to go ahead and clerk winning bids, which is, we just did lot 9. If y'all remember in Spotter Tool, I'm going to show y'all how it appears in ShoWorks. So jumping over, when you've installed the ShoWorks agent, you are going to have the ability to see this window. It's welcome to ShoWorks agent. Once you see that, then you are going to click Open Up Auction Monitor. This is going to then allow you to, when you have Open Auction Monitor clicked, then this allows for add-ons and buyers to run real time, make sure that everything is happening appropriately. Secondly, you're going to have configure settings. When you are going through and setting up your auction monitor, there's a couple of things that you have to tell it. One is, what is your fair ID? Your fair ID is your user ID that you use to log in to your online entries, and you use it for provisioning. It's the fair ID that is at the beginning of your Fairwire site. Most of you will be like, we're swademo.fairwire.com. It's also the slug that is used to distinguish your auction site from any other auction site that's out there. You're going to configure your fair ID. You're also going to select the exact spot navigating through Windows Explorer that your fair file exists on. So you're utilizing a fair for 2022, ShoWorks 2020 there. You're going to navigate to that location, and that's what ShoWorks Monitor is going to update. So that is something to definitely make note of. Then once it is up and running, then you have this dashboard that is going to pop up, and it's just, you're going to see it scrolling through, and it's got a heartbeat. Every time it has a heartbeat, that means it's checking to see if there's anything to send over. And so that is what's running in the background. When it's up and running, that means that you'll have items that are going to be coming across. This is exactly where you do that configuration for SWA demo, and then you're selecting that file. Going forth and navigating through Windows Explorer, and have that ability to select which file that you are going to be updating. So it is pretty self-service. You're going to open that, and then as you saw throughout this demo, buyers were added and updated, and it showed up in ShoWorks. And then we had an add-on that we deleted, and then we updated, and it showed up in ShoWorks. All of your buyers and all of your add-ons, any consortium bids, will automatically come across to ShoWorks. Where it gets a little different, and I'm going to flip back over into the admin site. On this auction monitor tool, you're going to see where it says you can push the winners from ShoWorks Auction over to ShoWorks Client, and you're pushing over those competitive lot winners. It's only in the case of competitive lot winners that you'll use this. Right now, if I were to go over to lot 9, I believe that's who we were playing with earlier, then we actually are sitting here and don't have anybody that has been submitted as a buyer. Actually, I think I deleted, sorry. Recapping. Let me hop back into ShoWorks, and I'll show you where there were no actual buyers that are appearing here yet, because we had not yet marked it sold, except that I had already messed with it in my demo site. So bear with me there. I just deleted it so it looks like it would in your normal setting. But we're sitting here, and there's been an add-on placed, but really no bids that have come across yet. I can click this clerk winning bids, and what's going to happen is it's going to tell me that it's sending those winners over. It's going to send those winners over in the case that Auction Monitor is up and running. So I've got Auction Monitor, it's running in the background, and I'm going to flip back over into my ShoWorks, and I might need to refresh. That is always acceptable practice when you're dealing with the ShoWorks database. And in this case, I reselected lot number 9, and you can see exactly where Janie Jackson and Beth Dutton had come across. So, and there's Max Owens. He just came across as well. So it was populating still as I was flipping back and forth. I was trying to rush it. So those winners now appear here. So let's say Max Owens now walks up to the table and he's ready to check out. You now have all of this information hanging out in your ShoWorks. So if you previously utilized ShoWorks to check out and cashier people, check out people at your cashier, there's no reason that you can't use it again now with Auction Monitor in place. I can go look at Max Owens. I can look at his buyer activity and I see that last item. Oh, it's small. Colleen Fisher, he took 50% of that lot number 9 and it's appearing here. So you can also see all of his activity. He's been very, very generous during the sale. So thank you, Max. But that's how Auction Monitor tool works. And it's intended to keep everything moving and flowing so that you can continue to do your processes in ShoWorks, utilize ShoWorks for the intense knowledge that it has in handling billing. There are specific situations where if you are handling quite a bit of flooring, you want to do your billing straight out of ShoWorks. You don't want to do that in the auction site. If you have significant number of adjustments that need to be applied on an invoice by invoice basis or a percentage basis, those adjustments, they get handled better in ShoWorks 2020. That doesn't mean that they can't appear on the online site, but they get handled better in ShoWorks. So if you have specific questions about how you're going to handle your adjustments and how you should be checking out, let us know. We can work with you on a case-by-case basis, but you might want to consider doing your billing straight out of ShoWorks. Very similarly, in the very last item, I'm going to round out payments also come across from the auction site. If an immediate buyer payment was made, it's going to show up and appear on the item or against the buyer. So in this case, you can see where a Visa payment was made and processed for $5,101.25 for against Sadie Hawkins as the buyer. This also appears over in my buyer data under buyer payments. You can see where Sadie Hawkins had an amount of $5,101.25 that automatically came across. So payments do come across. Let's say that you had add-ons only enabled online and payments for add-ons enabled online. The cool part of that is people could go ahead and log on and they could pay for their add-ons, but they buy something in your live sale, their final buyer activity and invoices are going to show that they purchased those add-ons, also had the payments, and then whatever else that they purchased. So you have a full gathering of all of that activity. Definitely key critical elements of running a sale are incorporated there. We are actually, I am aware of the time. I'm going to pause there. I am going to be excited in the next few weeks to be doing some immediate buyer payment training. That's why I kind of pushed it to the end. We will be pushing out some new payment gateways, and that is started development. So I want to let you know that I will be doing something very special, specific around buyer payments to cover all that includes, and including our expanded gateways. So for right now, if you're wondering, we support buyer payments via PayPal. You set up your own account. The monies get deposited into your account when people pay online. You have the ability to pass on those fees. That configuration is possible through our site. And and then those payments will come across and appear in ShoWorks. But I know a lot of people have been asking for additional functionality, and we're very close to rolling that out. So that honestly concludes all of the tools and reports that exist within ShoWorks Auction Admin.